345. Hangout on air is live. Wonderful. Well, Glenn, remember after you speak into the mics and not look at the camera. Maybe I'll put this out here. Oh, wonderful. This is my field operation stuff. But you know what, Glenn, this week I got my nice Heil PR40 working with my mixer, not my mixer, but yeah, my mixer in my studio, home studio. So now I've got a really good setup. Nice. Good sound. These field mics are very good. These ATR 21s are nice as long as they work. Let's do a little voice test with you, Glenn, just voice test.
Voice test, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You're a little low. See this green? We want to try to get the green up a little more.
Voice test, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, I'm going to pull both of us up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to be hitting the top just like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do it 5 hits.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'll get excited.
I'm getting very excited here, Bob.
Man, he doesn't even come up when you're excited. I'm going to have to put you up more. Glenn, you're higher than me today. Talk again.
I'm talking again. Very excited now. Now I'm getting really excited.
Oh, that's what you like. You know, Burning Man's this weekend. That's why you have to be excited. Okay, I think, see how we're all the way across here? Now let's hit here. The backup, this is the real one that counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, I'm hitting that little peak. That peak is no good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry out there if you're listening to this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Glenn, quick check.
Anyone on Google Hangouts right now, we apologize to be just counting for you right now.
You see why everyone turns it off. So you see behind the scenes. Hey, today we're going to start recording, and we'll just go right into the show because we talk a little bit about what we want to talk about. I just threw in Burning Man for a few seconds. So, all right, Glenn, we are on. Welcome to Weekend Wrap.
Hey, Bill, happy weekend to you and all the listeners.
Yes, it's Memorial Weekend. Not Memorial, it's Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day, and here we are laboring away on a podcast.
You know, and I was going to go fishing 10 minutes above my house in the most beautiful holes before all the tourists came in, because two things happen. Sometimes they plant, and then the big fish, there's so many big fish up above me right now because they've moved the fish from one of the lakes up above me in the Truckee River. So I didn't get to fish yesterday because, you know, I had a cold, or they're cutting the alfalfa field next to me, so it wiped me out. If you can hear my voice. But I'm better now, aren't I?
Well, Bill, you know, that's a relative thing, isn't
it? Yeah. But let's talk, before we get into it, because Burning Man is going on right now, and you've been to Burning Man.
I have been to Burning Man before, that's correct.
And you said it's getting too big now, right?
Yeah, I believe there's now going to be 60,000 people out in the middle of the desert.
70 on the playa.
70,000?
I think they got an extra 10. I know 60 for sure.
Yeah, that's just a lot of people in one place. And what happens you have to drive into a gate where they pretty much check your tickets and welcome you in. And you can sit there for hours getting in.
And they all stage in Reno, too.
Yeah, and then getting out, just to get to the main road could take you 3, 4, 5 hours. So it's a long time to get in and out of there.
A lot of friends of mine are Sherpas, and they have a blast being Sherpas. Basically, the real rich people, there's a lot of rich people come to this from around the world. They coordinate everything from them to getting out, RVs, whatever they need, and a lot of people from overseas. And they might make $3,000 this weekend, being a Sherpa. That's a well-paid Sherpa. But they'll take it back. They'll get their vehicle back. They'll actually put their vehicle in for them and then drive them out there, even on the back of a motorcycle. I've seen some crazy things because a motorcycle can get up there real fast.
Well, you see some crazy things when you're out there at Burning Man.
This show is not about Burning Man, but it's that's what we have this week. It's a lot of fun in Reno when we have Burning Man. Before and after, you get to see all the unique vehicles and people and that free spirit. And there's a lot of tech people, too. I think they said, I forgot, it's huge. It's more than 50% of the people at Burning Man work in the tech fields.
Yeah, because a lot of the people that go to Burning Man are from the Bay Area. And I know that Elon Musk, who is the founder of SpaceX and what is that electric car? Tesla. The Tesla motor car, who possibly there's going to be a Tesla factory here in Reno. I know there's talk of that. He apparently goes out there every year as well.
Yeah, speaking about Reno news, I'm going to bring that little bit of Reno news up this week. And we got an announcement that there's a new UAV company with 400 employees. I know the vice president. I can't think of the name. Azori. I probably destroyed that name. Coming to Reno. That's good. They're going to be up at Stead. So we've got another business coming in. But if Tesla comes in, that's huge. I think it's 6,000 jobs for that battery factory.
That would be a very good boost for Reno's economy, and I guess the reason we're talking about Burning Man right now is, all these Bay Area people have to come through Reno to get to Burning Man, so they come and stage here. And this year there was a huge rain event out in out
Oh,
there. So
early, yeah, they had to
actually
shut it day.
Yeah, they shut the gates
Yeah,
down,
mud.
and so a lot of people staged in Reno for that. So it's very good for the Reno economy. It's good for local Reno businesses.
Mhm.
My very good friends Gino and Julie own Grateful Gardens, and when the people come back from Burning Man, they are just slammed at Grateful Gardens. Everyone goes through there because they've got this excellent food and they're really healthy. And a lot of the people that come back from Burning Man are very health conscious, and they've been out there in the desert for a week, maybe not eating the best food, and they just pile into the Reno restaurants, and it's really
Oh,
good for
yeah.
the local
In
business.
fact, if you go to Whole Foods, it's crazy. Whole Foods has so much stuff out in the parking lot because they all go to Whole Foods here. It's
Exactly.
crazy, and it's crazy to watch. It's fun, though. Well, one last thing, the Atlantis, I have friends who work at the Atlantis, pretty high level, and they have before and after at the Atlantis, especially after, all the high-end people go to Atlantis because that's one of the top 10 spas in the world. And they go there and they just pamper themselves for 2 days.
Yeah, you've got to get all that dust and dirt out of all your cracks and crannies when you're after spending a week out there in the desert.
So that's the news around Reno this week. It's kind of fun to do a little news here and there. But let's get back into the 5 shows this week. Glenn, do you want to sort of head it off today, and I'll pull up the shows on the Google Plus Hangout.
All right, so we're going to quickly recap the interviews done by Bill this last week, and then I will quickly run through a couple of common themes that came up in the shows, and then we can just dive into each one individually. So we started off with Ryan Daniel, who's an entrepreneur and a speaker. Then we had Jay Massey, who's a real estate investor. And then Laurie Flocure, am I saying that correctly?
Yes, correct. And I'm really messing up the computer right now, but keep on going.
She's all about marketing and branding. And then we had Jim Palmer, who's in marketing and newsletters and a business coach. And then finally we had Tom Corley, who has a product, Rich Habits, and that was a really, really fascinating show where he spoke about the 10 habits of really rich people. So 5 people, 5 different things that they do, and again, for the listeners, you're going to see some commonalities. And we've spoken in the past about where your actions don't matter. Because again, you can see everyone is doing different things, and it's more important to focus on the thoughts and beliefs that successful and wealthy people have, and then model those. So the one big theme that came out for me this week, Bill, is all about goals. And starting off with Tom Corley, where one of his 10 habits of rich people is the way they set goals, and I think we'll dive into and talk about that a bit later, but goals was one of the 10 habits. And then Laurie spoke about people don't fail because they aim too high and miss, they fail because they aim too low and hit it. So again, that's how you set goals is really important. And then Jay Massey spoke about, if you don't go after what you want, you'll never have it. So it's so important to know what you want. So many people don't even know what they want. And then Ryan Daniel spoke about focusing on results-driven activity. And again, that's going to tie into how you set goals and what you focus on in goals. So goals is a big theme this week.
Right. It's amazing how you pulled that out, but it just happened to be that it was a theme, and actually made me think a little bit different, which we'll talk about when we talk about Tom Corley. But let's go back to the 051 Ryan Daniel. That was the first show on Monday. Freedom Fast Lane. He's got a lot of businesses. He moved from up north down into Texas because he wanted to be away, a place where he could focus and build a company. It was in Austin. He started building his online presence. I think he did some very traditional things. He built a product, like a health product, which I think was a muscle burn product, and then he started selling it online. And then he built the next product. But his point was he didn't want to brand himself. He wanted to brand the product so he could sell the product. And then he also invests his money. He seems very sharp for a young man. But also, and if you go to the site too, you're also going to find that even though he says he's not branding himself, he's got his podcast and he is out there being branded as an individual. But his individual products are not branded. So that's what I took away in the business sense.
Yeah, absolutely. There are 2 things. Obviously, you brand yourself and you brand products, and it looks like he's doing both. There are a couple of things that came out of his interview there where he spoke about get out of the center of your business and focus on results-driven activity that is going to lead to profit or increase profitability. And that's something we've mentioned in previous shows, where the difference between working in your business and working on your business. So when you're working in your business, that's when you're in the center of your business, and then you don't do the bigger, higher level stuff. You don't do that strategic planning. You don't do that campaigning. You don't set yourself up to win the way you would if you actually step back and work on your business.
You know, it's very good. I remember asking him if he'd read the E-Myth, and he hadn't read it, didn't know about the book, yet when he talked to me, he explained he applies the E-Myth to the T. Interesting. So there's other places to learn the E-Myth other than the E-Myth concept, which is the old concept of taking a business, setting it up so you don't work in your business, but you work on your business so it can run without you.
Exactly. It's all about systems and being
Right.
systematic. The other thing that he said here, he said, work hard and don't worry about the other guy. And there's another trend in that, because Tom Corley spoke about in one of the 10 habits is don't focus on yourself. Don't focus on what the competition. Important here that your success is based on what you have done compared to what you could have done, not compared to what others have done. So you don't do these social comparisons. Sonia Lyubomirsky wrote a great book called The How of Happiness, and one of the habits of happy people is they don't make social comparisons. So important concept there. Focus on yourself. Focus on you doing the best you possibly can, and don't worry about the other guys.
Right, and happiness did come up this week. I don't know exactly who brought it up, but it was brought up in the concepts. So going on to Jay Macy. Jay Macy is a real estate investor, problem solver, and basically was down and out, and someone in his church really helped him out, made connections, and he got into investing in real estate. Now I would say anybody who's investing in about 2009 and on has done fairly well. But if you're investing heavily in 2007, 6 and 7, and not liquidating, you could be in trouble. I sold one of the houses I built in 2007, I think. And it was when I used to build subdivisions. I'd take one lot for myself, and then on the side build that house myself, and then live in it a few years and then sell it. Well, I made huge money on that house. Unfortunately, we have a real estate company. We had to buy a bigger house in a gated community because we had several other transactions contingent on that sale, and we were actually bought that house at the very top of the market. The only good thing I would say is I put $100,000 into it, and I was able to get a very low interest rate later on. So I have a very low interest rate. We're losing a little bit of money. We rent it out right now because we live in Reno. But that's the only place I really got hurt in that market. Other than our real estate company, we really took a hit. And our construction company, I was active in the military. But that's a real estate investment. So what did you take away from Jay? He seems like he's really done well. He's very organized. He's got a lot of good people working for him.
Well, a couple of things. I did get caught in that 2007, 2008 real estate. I ended up contemplating bankruptcy. And so I jump in here where he said, your story is your story. Don't let the past stop your future. So just because I got totally wiped out, lost everything I had financially.
But you didn't go bankrupt. I know that.
Well,
you had a great job.
I ended up not having to declare bankruptcy. But just because that happened in the past doesn't mean that I can't move forward and create something for myself in the future. So it's so important that the past is nothing but a learning opportunity. You don't want to get caught up in woe is me type stories. And he says your story is your story, and listen to what people say. And it's so important that when you have, inverted commas, failures in the past, is that you reframe that into a positive. You tell a new story that's actually going to help you get to where you want to be. Because if you continuously talk about these bad things that happened, you just can't move forward in life. You've got to change that story.
So remind me when we get to our discussion on goal setting to bring up an issue of what I did last year that I wish I had done differently about opening a different kind of real estate office here in Reno, actually opening a brick and mortar. So remind me of that, because I'm going to ask a question about, we're going to have a really interesting discussion on goal setting. So driving on, I'll let you go to the next one so I can pick up my glasses.
Oh, just before we go on, Jay's favorite book was The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles.
Oh, that's right.
And I would highly recommend, just Google The Science of Getting Rich. It's a public domain book. That's a fantastic book. And if you want information on how to be wealthy, chapter 4, 14, and 7, in that particular order, read those chapters over and over and over again.
Quick question. That's a pretty old book, isn't it?
That is more than 100 years old.
That was the book that a lot of people point back to for The Secret, isn't it? Is that the book?
That is a book that
Foundation of the Secret?
That inspired the movie The Secret. That's correct.
Definitely a good book. I looked at it years ago. I probably need to spend more time studying it, and I'll look back on those chapters. Thanks, Glenn. So we're going into Laura Fletcher. Laura is definitely a networker and a connector. So what do you have on Laura?
She spoke about don't wait, like just seize opportunities and do it. And that's a common theme that has come up from all people is get in the game, get started, get going. And Bill, we've spoken about that balance between how much planning do you do and actually getting into the game and then making adjustments as you go along. And for everyone, you've got to find the right balance for you, but you don't want to get caught in that analysis paralysis where you never start anything. The best time to launch an idea is when it's still a baby, when it's still fresh. She just put it beautifully there. Don't wait, just do it.
That's what her point was. Act now and get things going. But, I've got mixed feelings on that because I used to draw plans. We always make a good plan before we execute. So you got to still spend the time to get prepared to do, and it has to be, and we're going to talk about in gold setting, it's got to be attainable gold. So if I don't have a good set of blueprints, I can't build the house. I could build a house, I guess, but you can't. It depends where you are. It's hard to explain that. You can design build.
It's a balance. We spoke about George Patton's quote where he said, a good plan violently executed now is better than the perfect plan executed next week.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Totally agree. So Laura was a lot of fun. She has connected me with a lot of really good people to have on the show. So I've really thanked her for that. And she interviewed Jack Canfield. I don't know if you noticed that. Chicken Soup for the Soul is, if you look into her websites, and she's pretty well connected. And if you go to Timelines of Success, go to episode 53, you can see her interview with Jack Canfield. It's a very nice interview. And Laura, it was very pleasant, and I really appreciate her friendship. She has a conference coming up here later this year in the Dominican Republic.
That's correct, yeah.
Yep, that's right. So driving on, we went from Laura, we went to Tom Corley.
No, we went to Jim Palmer first.
Disregard what I said. On my computer here. So go ahead and Jim Palmer.
All right, so Jim spoke about being relaxed, being authentic with your marketing. So for entrepreneurs, solopreneurs out there, being authentic, being yourself, finding your voice, finding your way is really important. So we've also spoke about modeling. So when you have coaches, when you have mentors, when you have people that you model yourself after, that's going to shorten your learning curve, but you can't be them. You have to find your own way of expressing whatever it is you do in business. So being authentic with your marketing is really important. I remember my mentor telling me a story where he really liked Joe Vitale, and he was watching some of Joe Vitale's videos and his sales videos, and he decided that, wow, he wanted to be just like Joe. So he created a sales video basically doing it exactly the way Joe Vitale did, and it was an absolute flop because he wasn't being himself. He was trying to be someone else. So being authentic is so important. Find your own voice, find your own way of doing things.
Right. Be relaxed, be authentic with your marketing, and always leave with the audience in mind and have the customer feel good after they've heard you or talked to you. People should leave with a positive attitude and feeling good. Not hyped, but positive type attitude.
That's right. So what you want to do is, what is the outcome you want after you've spoken with someone? What is the outcome you want after you've done anything? And if you know what that outcome is, that's going to help you being authentic and communicating that outcome to whoever you're talking to.
Right. Giving hope. People should leave with hope if they need hope. If they already have a successful business, they should see how they can do it better and drive hard. So anything else on Jim? I enjoyed Jim's conversation. His daughter has done some work for me in the scheduling systems, which I appreciate that very much. Tom Corley, that was the interesting interview this week.
Tom, very, very interesting. The 10 habits he spoke about, I mean, I think we should do like a special show on each one of those habits as we go along here in the future. So much really good stuff there. And this is where we can tie a lot of what everyone else said together here. Laurie spoke about that difference between aiming too high and aiming too low. And then when Tom spoke about goals, how you set goals is so important. And for the listeners, I understand that goals is not a sexy subject. It's not an exciting subject. But people can make so many mistakes when they set goals, which ultimately is going to get to where you just don't get what you want. So how you set goals is really important. And I know that you had a little bit of a a new realization from what Tom spoke about. So do you want to share that?
I'll tell you, I totally don't understand the concept, to tell the truth. But he says you should only set goals which are 100% achievable. I've never done that. I've always set goals that were above or a challenge that I guess they are achievable, but there's probability that they might not be achieved. It's not 100% sure they're going to reach a goal.
So here's the deal. Our brains cannot be tricked. You can't fool your brain into doing something it doesn't believe. So your subconscious beliefs are going to govern how you act, how you perform, and everything that happens, your actions that you take. So that old myth of you got to set this huge, big, hairy, audacious goal that frightens you. Okay, the people that teach that have been doing this kind of stuff for a long time. They've developed habits that make them really successful. So they can set these huge, big goals and achieve them because they're so accomplished in doing it. But you've got to look at where you are now. What is your power in creating results right now? And when you set a goal that you don't believe in subconsciously, you're basically sending out two signals. One signal is the signal saying, I want the specific goal. And the other signal is an unconscious signal that says, I don't believe I can achieve this goal. And then that actually cancels each other out. Let me try to put this another way. Imagine you're holding an elastic band between your two fingers. And if you hold this band that there's absolutely no stretch in the elastic band, that would be like having a goal that's in your comfort zone. And when you have a goal in your comfort zone, that's where Laurie spoke about aiming too low and hitting something. Like there's no growth there, there's no excitement, there's nothing pushing you, there's nothing driving you. Now imagine you move your hands apart so that you're stretching that elastic band to about half of its capacity. Now you can feel there's some tension, there's something pulling you, there's something drawing you. So that's what we would call a stretch zone goal. Now, a stretch zone can also be a goal that's in the sweet spot. And what I mean by that is it's a goal that's big enough to excite you, but it's also small enough that you know you can achieve it. And it's so important. You've got to have both of those. It's got to excite you, but you've got to know you can achieve it. Because what happens next, if you keep moving your hands apart, you're going to take this elastic band where you're stretching it out into the panic zone, where you can see that elastic band's really starting to get thin, and you're actually worrying that it's going to break. Now, when that's the same as setting this huge, big goal. When you set goals that are too big, it creates doubt, and it creates anxiety, and it creates stress, because you don't really subconsciously believe that you can achieve this. And then, of course, the next step is you just keep going a little bit further, and you go into the snap zone, where that elastic band is just going to break on you. So what Tom is talking about there is a goal that's in that stretch zone. That's big enough that you're excited about it, but it's small enough that you can believe in it. Does that make sense for you, Bill?
It does, and I understand that, but there's some contrary beliefs, that, like the magic of thinking big, that I think can lead people into too big of goals. It's got to be achievable, like you said. But I do believe that there could be some risk in that goal also. For example, let me go back to my military years. I did very well going to a lot of different high-end schools, from being a special forces officer to ranger school to flight school. Flight school was relatively easy for me. I don't know why, but it was. But a lot of people don't make it through. I didn't know if I could make it through until I really took my first check ride and was second, or really the top of my class. So you don't know if you're going to make it through, and people don't make it through, but they try. In the military, of course, anyone who starts, the military thinks they all have a chance to make it through. Same thing with going to West Point or any high-level school or academy. You try, but you're not guaranteed to make it through. So you should always reach for things maybe one step beyond what you think you can do. In some aspects, I've done that. But then I've thought, you don't want any catastrophic failures in your life. You know what I'm saying? Things that really ruin you. Doing something stupid.
Yeah, that sets you back.
Right.
Yeah, way back.
You get set back. So ideally, I think the people who are most successful set goals, like you said, that are achievable, and they build on each goal and reset new goals all the time. So really breaking it down into the smaller, attainable goals every day is the most important element. So I think there's something there. I probably could talk more, and I understand a little bit more. And when Tom said 100% achievable, that still doesn't connect with me, because Nothing is guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed, but here's the deal, is that you can have dreams, but there's a difference between having a wish and having a dream. So you've got to have dreams, but you can't live in a dream world. So that's why your goals have got to be totally attainable, because what happens is your word becomes law in the universe. You say, this is what I'm doing, and you do it. And then that builds up a momentum cycle. It builds up your belief, it builds up your confidence, and it builds up your habits, and then you get results that you want. So it's really important that when you set goals, is don't actually have a time limit on when you achieve the goal itself. Have a time limit on your actions. Does that make sense? So
yeah, you hold accountable, and that's where we talk a little bit about a mentor coach, holding people accountable and really talking through those goals with them, working out the issues.
So what Tom's talking about there is you setting something that's 100% attainable. Is, let's use the example of someone has a goal to lose weight. What they should have time limits on are their actions. In other words, at 2 p.m. I'm going to gym. At 6 p.m. I'm going for a 45-minute walk. I'm going to have a salad at X time. I'm going to have a smoothie at X time. So now you're actually putting time limits on the actions that you take. And if you achieve those actions one after the other, those are your little goals that you've set, and you hit them, and you hit them, and you hit them, then everything takes care of itself.
Yeah, I totally believe in not setting too high attainable goals when you're starting with your health. We talked about that earlier, like CrossFit.
Exactly.
Just one little bit of piece at a time. Maybe the first goal is to get in there and clean out your kitchen and get all of the processed food out of there. That's the goal for the week. Next goal is to start reading, studying, eating a little bit better. So that's another issue in itself. But Tom's got 10 issues. We're not going to bring those up now. We're going to tell you to go to the website, which is timelinesofsuccess.com, and you can see those 10. You can also Google Tom Corley. He's going to be on Success Magazine around October 3 or 4 when it's published. He'll actually be in the CD, and they have a spread on him. So I think you're going to see a lot more of Tom in the year to come. He's been accountant for 5 years, was accountant, has really studied the art of making money. He studied different cases, what poor people do and what rich people do. Now, most of, I believe, the studies are on rich people because he's seen it, his clients, his customers. So, excuse me. Got to cut that out from the. That's the only edit I have right there, my sniffling. For you seeing on the, I'm going to break this part out. For you watching live in the Google Hangout, you'll hear me sniffling, getting over it. So I think I'm almost done with this cold. Kind of tough. Well, anyway, Glenn, how do you want to wrap this week up?
Well, here's the quick wrap up here is this week is all about goals and having goals. And Tom spoke about writing your goals down. And Ryan Daniel brought up a very important thing when he spoke about having a handwritten journal. And my recommendation to people is when you have goals, write them down on a piece of paper with a pen that has blue ink in it. Because when you type stuff into your computer or you're typing stuff into your iPhone or your smartphone or wherever it is, you're actually engaging about 8 neural pathways in your body. Whereas when you write, you engage thousands of neural pathways. So writing stuff down is critical.
Glenn, hold up your book so they can see in the audience. Just hold it up. I had a book, a journal like that forever, a different journal every year when I was a young officer. Always kept journals. I kept journals in Afghanistan on little books. But he's got the book here. I'm actually do all my notes, sync them all on my iPhone and my computer. That's most of my notes, and I don't use much pen and pencil anymore.
They've done studies where they brought secretaries into an office and they divided them in 2 groups. And for 15 minutes, they dictated to these secretaries, and half of the secretaries were making handwritten notes, and half of them were typing it into a computer. Then about 2 hours later, they brought them all back in, and the secretaries then they asked them questions about what they had told them for those 15 minutes. And the secretaries that had typed it in were stunned because they couldn't recall any of the information. Whereas the secretaries that had handwritten everything, they could remember it.
Well, again, I like it because it's systemized. I can recall the information on my computer in different places. But journaling is good. Everything I've seen, they said it's good to journal for 10 or 15 minutes in the morning or in the evening, basically about your goals, what you want to do. Just journal, keep a journal. But then I don't think it also helps on your schedule here to put stuff on your schedule. Because my schedule, I have a lot of systems, and it works pretty well. You saw some of those systems earlier. Schedule once, it all hooks together. I did 10 interviews on Wednesday and Thursday this week. I mean, that's good. That banks time. It saves time. I mean, the time for my interviews come way down.
There's a time and a place for the computer, absolutely no doubt.
Right.
But when it comes to creating your life and your goals and your dreams, you got to write it down. Like this journal here, for the people listening, how thick is that? That's what, like.
It's standard, yeah. It's the exact size I used when I was a young academy soldier.
Yeah, and I go through these things like I fill this thing up in 2 months. So
wow.
I do 6 or 7 of these a year, and every single day I'm writing.
And you keep them too, and you scribble out. Yeah, I agree with that. So it's a balance, and I love my MacBook Pro. Hey, we didn't go over because we're supposed to be under 30 minutes, but we sure didn't make that 25 minute.
Well, apparently we need to learn to say more in less time, and that's Jay Massey spoke about that.
Yeah, it was fun talking about Burning Man, though. And I'm looking forward to watching the burners come back in.
See all those dirty vehicles come back all covered in dust.
Yeah, I'll be happy, though. I've never seen a burner wasn't like on cloud 9 coming in.
It's a very unique experience, and I think it's something that everyone should at least try to do once in their life.
Yep. And if you live here, you can work around the environment, too. It's kind of fun. I enjoy the burners. So without further ado, that's it for the week.
Yeah, everyone go set your goals, make sure that they are results driven, and then take some action.
Very good. Good way to finish. And I just finished up this. Hey, one thing I'll say back out there is we will, let me look at something.
Oh, 2 o'clock. I've been here for 5 hours.
Sorry about that, yeah. I can't do it today. My cold's driving me nuts. But we're still on live right now. What I'd like to do is Tom Corley, which he has those 10 points. I'd like to do some specials. I think we could just do 3 of those at a time. And I sort of put these down here fast, but I'd like to organize them a little bit more. We could talk about eat right, sleep.
Oh, there's so much science behind all of these things. We could speak forever on these.
His 10 points are good. I could think of a couple to add to it, too. I like to look at these, break them down, maybe break them into 3 parts, do 3 specials.
Absolutely.
I think those are
good stuff.
I think it's a good read. I think success. He'll be really good on success. Interesting. All right, thank you out there. We'll turn this off now. Have fun. My snivels. I'm sniveling. I'm a sniveler today. Okay, let's see. This is start, doesn't it? Stop. Okay. Why am I spazzing out here?
Let's make sure you...
We will stop broadcasting. Aloha.